Welcome to this edition of the Commissioner's Report. Today we'll be hearing from Commissioners Todd Dantzler and Ed Smith on a number of projects impacting the lives of Polk County citizens. First up is Commissioner Dantzler. Welcome to the show, Commissioner.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it again.
Let's talk about economic development, Commissioner, one of your favorite topics. You were very involved with the recent reorganization of the Central Florida Development Council. The CFDC has named a new president to lead the county-wide organization. Can you tell us about this hire and what the CFDC hopes to accomplish during the short term?
Well, we've got some short-term and long-term goals. The short term is to rebuild the organization, and we've done that with the hire of Dave Petter, who is currently the president of the Winter Haven EDC. I think this is a tribute to the quality of person that Winter Haven brings to the table. They were very generous in allowing us to talk to Dave, and they see the benefit of a very strong CFDC. It's taken a long time to rebuild this organization, and we are just now starting. We need to fulfill several members of the staff to fill out the team, but we've got a dedicated board of directors, a group of investors who believe in the concept. We've got a group of county commissioners who are behind the CFDC, probably as much, if not ever before, and we've got a general manager who supports the CFDC and their job. And we're building an organization of relevancy and value that is dedicated to drive job creation here in Polk County. That's kind of a long-term goal. You have to build the organization. We're going to be going after small business development because we think that's a huge economic driver for Polk County and for any county. Is, you know, it's nice to get the Amazons or the XYZ or the ABC companies that brings 1,000. That's obviously a grand slam, but I think how you win the game is with a whole bunch of singles, and if you can get a company that'll come in and create 10 jobs, that'll create 15, that'll create 20, they're going to end up being a 100-job employer within several years if everything goes right, and you have a much greater success of getting those 10, 15, 20 employee jobs than the big guys. So that's kind of what part of our focus is going to be on. I'm excited about where we are. I am impressed with the dedication of the private side. Over the last year, there's been a lot of faith invested into the CFDC because we were kind of like the phoenix rising from the sun again, or phoenix rising from the ashes. And, you know, I'm excited for my small role in it, but I'm very excited for the support the county has given us and also on the private side.
The CFDC hitting a lot of singles, kind of like Pete Rose without the gambling charge. Very interesting. Hey, let's stay with economic development another minute. Staying with economic development a moment, the Board of County Commissioners on June 18 unanimously passed an ordinance approving ad valorem tax relief at 50% over a 10-year period for Brewhub, a new company which will be crafting specialty beers in Lakeland off of Interstate 4. The manufacturer qualified for the new program because it's hiring 25 new employees who will be making more than 115% of the annual average wage in Polk County because of its $14.8 million capital investment in building and equipment. The voters of Polk County approved this incentive concept through referendum last November. What do you think about this new economic development tool?
I think it's one more arrow in the quiver. This is an issue that Commissioner Bob English, brought up and championed several times, and it failed. And the last time, he really kind of laid back and it passed itself. So I was giving him some good-natured ribbing about that. But yeah, the 18th, we were very pleased to support the first project coming forward, which was brought in by the LEDC. Laura Taylor with the LEDC was very instrumental in helping to write the ordinance and showed great leadership. She had a lot of experience, so I'd like to commend her and the LEDC for their leadership helping the CFDC out. But I think that as you compete with other counties, that you better have at least what they have, if not a little bit more. As you go through your life as an elected official, they say, well, what can you do to help bring jobs to town? Well, you can either offer a carrot or a stick. And we need to get rid of all the sticks that are out there and have more carrots. There are some that said, don't give them anything. Why should they get it and we don't? Well, if you have an existing business and you want to expand, you're eligible for that as well. So it's not just bringing a new business to town. It could be Jim Degennaro XYZ company and you want to expand it, so there's advantages for you to do it. And it's an incentive for you to do it now rather than waiting. All these things, impact fee moratoriums, and these incentives are incentives to do something now, not in the next 10 years. And there are measures in place so that if the brew hub does not meet the guidelines, that they will lose that. And we're not giving them money, we're just not collecting some of their property tax. So it's not like, here's a check for $450,000, you don't owe taxes for the next 10 years. It's more or less of a $45,000, $43,000 abatement, so that if they hit these, right, if they hit these benchmarks, they will continue to get it. And if they don't, then we go back and try and get the last $43,000. So I think it's just one of the tools that we need to go out after economic development, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Okay, excellent. Your brother Brad, who is a city commissioner in Winter Haven, is interested in improving the Chain of Lakes complex to retain the very successful Russ Matt Collegiate Baseball Tournament and to attract new sporting events to the venue off Cypress Gardens Boulevard. The Board of County Commissioners recently approved spending $125,000 in tourist development bed tax dollars to make improvements at the Chain of Lakes complex. Why is it important that the county have a role to play in this project?
Well, I think it's important because Russ Matt benefits the entire county. It's not just a Lake Myrtle and everything self-contained. It's not just Winter Haven. They played some tournament games at some of the colleges. They sleep in our hotels. They eat our food. They buy our gas. They buy our cleats when stuff breaks. So it's a countywide organization. 40-something% of the games in the tournament are played in the Winter Haven complex. I think about 50 are played at Lake Myrtle, and I think the other 10 are spread out from throughout different venues. So it's important that we keep Russ Matt here. They've got a contract through 2019. We're trying to extend that to 2025. Mark Jackson's working on that on the TDC end, and we think that we'll be successful. They provide a huge economic impact. I think the study shows 20 to 25,000, or 20 to 25 million. I can't remember the exact number, maybe 23 million. So, you know, and what we're trying to do is keep that money in Polk County. And people don't fully understand what youth sports mean to a community. I think any given weekend, a third of the cars on the road are going somewhere, to a girls volleyball tournament, to a Little League baseball team. I know my younger brother, Brad, who you mentioned, his oldest son played travel ball. And every weekend they were going to Naples or Sarasota, wherever, and that meant staying in hotels and eating their food and buying their gas. And that's what I think we should be working for. And I think what would be really cool is, as you're coming over the bridge into Winter Haven, you look out and you see baseball fields full of kids, and you see football or lacrosse or soccer fields full of kids, and maybe some outdoor girls volleyball, some tennis courts, and all these beautiful green fields filled with kids and all the families that are there. You know those families are going to Legoland, so Legoland is going to be a great beneficiary if we can do this. So it's a complicated issue. There's a lot of moving parts, but we're in the process of trying to figure out how to make it work for the county and the city. And you know, just as the Tigers are primarily a Lakeland organization, they have a countywide benefit. Just as the Lakeland Center is a Lakeland asset, it has countywide benefit. Just as the Chain of Lakes ballpark does for Lakeland and Fort Meade and Frostproof, is it does spread out. It's concentrated in some areas, but it spreads out. So I think it's important that we are involved.
You're certainly right. Switching gears a bit, let's move to another action the Board of County Commissioners took on June 18th.
That was a busy day.
Yes, sir. You could say that. Voting unanimously to put a sales tax referendum on the ballot next year to pay for transit and local road improvements. If the voters approve the measure, the sales tax will replace property taxes that have been levied for years to support transit in Lakeland and Mulberry communities and pay for bridge construction projects in unincorporated areas. The Lakeland Area Mass Transit District, I understand, levies 50 cents per 1,000 of taxable value countywide for road and bridge projects, while the County Commission levies $1 per 1,000 of taxable value for road projects. One idea being discussed is to eliminate both of these taxes if the sales tax referendum passes. Do you agree with this game plan? And if you do, why?
That's easy for you to say, apparently.
Yeah.
I think that it's a different way of thinking. The 1 mill that the county commission put on a few years ago raised a lot of money. It has not been as reliable a funding source as it was a few years ago. And I don't see us building a whole lot of new roads, but we have to maintain the ones that we do. So we need a reliable revenue source. And we just voted to put it on the ballot, is what we did on the 18th. The voters will decide whether they want to do that or not. Tom Phillips, the executive director of Citrus Connection and heads up our transportation, he has volunteered to be the tip of the spear. So I hope he puts on his armor when he goes out to sell this idea. I wish him good luck. And part of what it is if this passes, it'll raise a considerable amount of money. So we feel it's only important to withdraw the 1 penny that we charge and the ½ cent that they charge in Lakeland and the Mulberry area, but we can't put that on the same referendum. It's illegal to do that. So there's been a pledge by all 5 of the county commissioners in public on TV that we are going to repeal that penny that we have control over and the penny and a half in the Mulberry Lakeland area. And, you know, other than that, we can't really guarantee anything, so people have to have a little bit of faith in local government, so we'll see.
2 previous attempts to have voters approve the issue have failed in recent years. What can be done to persuade voters that improved transit and road services are good for the community and economic development in the still very tough economy?
Well, I think we're starting to come out of the tough times that we've been in. We are by no means out of it, but we have at least started the process. We're growing a little bit. I think that we have to continue to show that we're good stewards of the money. Yes. I think that having good roads and having transit helps get people to jobs. The business community is going to have to get behind this. They're going to have to do a better job. The organization promoting this is going to have to do a much better job than they've done in the past. They were kind of behind the eight ball before, and now they're trying to spend at least a year and a half to get out front, to market the campaign, to pass this referendum. And I think they'll have a better shot at it. Whether it will pass or not, I don't know. If it doesn't pass, it'll be business as usual, just what we're doing now, and we'll continue to deliver what we're doing. But I applaud them for coming up with a innovative way to raise the necessary funds, and I think if they can go out and get testimony from the business community that they need this, part of what the business community doesn't have is shift work has access to transit. You know, the buses shut down 6:30 or 7, I think is their last run, so if you're doing late night work at a hospital or a factory or a warehouse, you still have to rely on a friend, a family member, someone carpooling to get to work. And I think that this will expand the transit area a little bit so that there'll be more availability. Tom has been, I think, one of the best transportation guys we've had in a long, long time. He's innovative, he's energetic, he's got a passion for it, and he's trying to solve the problem. And I get people saying, well, I see this 40-person bus that's empty. I said, well, if you see them at 6:30, they're probably going back to, you know, to the shop for the night. And, you know, sometimes they do deadhead. They may be going to rescue another bus. So, you know, it's easy to make a blanket statement that, oh, we're doing it wrong. Well, Tom Phillips and his team have committed to doing it right, and they've gotten organized. They're going out into the field and saying, hey, Frostproof, what does transit mean to you? Hey, Poinciana, what does transit mean to you? You know, and trying to tailor a program that fits the larger fixed routes plus the individual routes.
You know, you mentioned Poinciana, community of 84,000 persons spread over Polk and Osceola counties on 42,000 acres. We have a minute left. Some of the concerns are the need for sidewalks, street lights, and improved recreation and wastewater in Poinciana. Real quickly, what are we doing to help Poinciana?
Well, a couple things that we're doing is we've got a sidewalk program with Poinciana, whereas we supply the supplies and they supply the labor. They also have a program that kind of sets what their priorities for is for a sidewalk. There's no sense in us putting it on this road if they really need it here on this road. So we've listened to them, and so it's spreading our resources out considerably. We are finishing up a 29-acre park in Village 7 on the south end of the property, south end of the development, and we were only going to be able to develop half of it. Through some creative things and some budget savings that we've had, we're going to be able to deliver the whole park. It'll be a couple of months delayed, but instead of delivering a half a park, we're going to deliver a whole park, and that's going to be great for a lot of the folks in Village 7.
It's been a pleasure speaking
Enjoyed
with
it.
you today, Commissioner Dantzler, and once again, we appreciate your service to the citizens of Polk County. Next, we'll be hearing from Commissioner Ed Smith, who will be talking about projects throughout Polk County. Thank you. Welcome back to the Commissioner's Report, where we're now joined by Commissioner Ed Smith. Welcome to the show, Commissioner Smith.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here and just have the opportunity to be able to give some information, hopefully, to the citizens of Polk County.
Thank you, and let's get started then. As government budgets remain extremely tight throughout our state, and certainly here in Polk County, one of the financing tools for new infrastructure and building products gaining traction is the use of public-private partnerships, sometimes called P3 projects. The Board of County Commissioners is involved in at least one of these projects, a new parking garage in Bartow, to help alleviate a problem that has been plaguing citizens and government employees for years. Commissioner Smith, you have been involved with this project and with this concept for financing. Could you please provide us some background on how we chose a company to build, finance, and operate this structure, and where will this new garage be located?
Well, to give you a little bit of history of that, Mr. Degennaro, you know, when I was elected in 2008, this is the first thing that kind of jumped to mind here because, as a matter of fact, several of the people who were coming to my swearing-in ceremony almost missed it because they were driving in circles looking for a place to park. So I knew there was a problem here, and I said, you know, I think the solution here is to have a parking garage. Others were talking about, well, we need to buy more land and make more parking lots, et cetera, et cetera. And after checking into it, I found out, you know, this was not anything new, that people had been suggesting and working on this, and by people I mean commissioners, for at least 15 years. And it just never came to fruition. And so I said, well, you know, maybe we need to start working it again, and I brought the issue up, and we began to work, and we began to talk, and we began to talk with potential contractors and how we could do it and what could do, and some of them came up with the idea that why don't we form a P3 partnership here, and maybe we can get this thing done. So sure enough, we were able to bring that forward in the form of an RFP, and 6 companies bid and this was to design, finance, construct, operate, and maintain a 600-space parking garage. And so the RFP was put out, and as I said, 6 companies bid on it. The place for it is to be between the the Sheriff Crow building, I guess, and the administration building and the courthouse. In other words, in the space between the 3 of them. We have now selected a company. First, we cut it down to 3, narrowed it down to 3, and now one company has been selected. And so this construction time is going to be from 9 to 12 months. Conceivably, we could be parking in that garage by June of next year. So it certainly could happen, and we're looking forward to it.
Has it been decided yet whether there'll be a fee for parking in the garage?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's the way it's going to be funded, is by the parking fees. And as I said, it will be operated by a private company, and Polk County will not be involved in it. So yes, there will be, and the amount hasn't been determined yet. There are a lot of details yet to be worked out, but it's a good opportunity, and I think everybody that I've talked to is just thrilled to think that we do have a parking garage, at least on the horizon, and so many good things about it. I really think this is a great design. And one of the things, of course, is a covered walkway from the garage over to the courthouse across Church Street. And boy, some of the rainy days, I'm sure that's going to be appreciated.
Yeah, my window actually looks out on that parking lot, and I have often seen the people scurrying in the downpours to get into the courthouse. The parking garage will be a tremendous boon to the Bartow area, and we're anxious to see the cranes start to set supporting structures in place. Now let's move about the county a bit and look at projects slated for communities in your district, Commissioner Smith. You have a big heart for helping the little guy, and one of our most needy communities is the Skyview area off Cumbie Road in the unincorporated area of Lakeland. You know this community as one that has a lot of retirees and unemployed folks living there. You know that some of the history of the water and the sewer operations at Skyview. What can be done to turn around this low and moderate income neighborhood?
Well, you're right. There are a lot of issues there, and because it's a low-income area, one of the issues, of course, is their streets that are in terrible repair. Unfortunately, the county cannot do anything about it right now because the law prevents us from doing that. It's a private community, and those are private streets, so we are not allowed to expend public funds fixing it. Another issue, though, and a very big one out there, and probably the most needy one, is the wastewater system. The wastewater system is simply not functional. It was designed with the idea in mind as, again, a private enterprise project, was designed so that the water, the effluent water that is, from the wastewater plant would be used to water the golf course. And so there would be no runoff, there would be no problem with disposing of it. Unfortunately, that's not the way it worked out. The property that the golf course is built on does not percolate, and so instead of the effluent water watering the golf course, it's running off into Lake Hancock and into Peace River, and it is a pollutant. So they have, and Polk County, as a matter of fact, has been directed to clean that up. The cost of cleaning it up, approximately $6 million, and that would necessitate an assessment to each customer of about $5,550 approximately. The city of Lakeland is the nearest wastewater plant, and they have been directed to take the wastewater. However, Polk County will share in that, so you know it's a matter of obtaining the right-of-way and running the pipelines over there to them. A lot of the pipes and piping for wastewater in Skyview has got to be replaced. It's in very, very bad condition, so that's a serious problem. It has to be dealt with. We've got some funding. As a matter of fact, we were just very, very fortunate in that the state legislature has just given us $3.75 million. We have a pending grant, hopefully, from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and we did get $1.7 million from FDEP. The hope is then that we can reduce the assessment for the homeowners to a reasonable amount, and as a matter of fact, extend that over several years. So we're working very hard to try to get that community back up to where it needs to be. But that's a tough and a very expensive program. So, but we're working on it.
Excellent. Let's move eastward to Inwood, a community close to your wife's heart. Can you please give us some background on this community for folks who may not be familiar with this large neighborhood of 4,000 citizens?
Yes, I will. As a matter of fact, it is a community that's very dear to my wife's heart, and therefore me also. But she did most of her growing up in Inwood, but she says, of course, it was country in those days. She said we had cow pastures on both sides of us, and the people behind us had horses in their pasture. The pastures are all gone now. Inwood is completely built out house to house, and it's had, through the years, has declined significantly. The first thing that I did as I came in here was take a look out there. Now, let me tell you where it's located first. That would probably help people that don't know. Inwood is located between Winter Haven and Auburndale. It's, as you said, it's about 4,000 residents. That's just a guess, but that's probably pretty close. I found in riding around out there, and I hadn't been through there in some time, the streets were really in bad condition. So I sat down with Mr. Ed Jordan, who was in charge of the repaving program at the time in Polk County. Ed has since retired, and as a matter of fact has also passed away, but he was a super individual. I really loved Ed, and he was a good man to work with. Ed said, look, I said, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's sit down. We don't have the money right now to pave and repave the streets out there. Some of them are in very bad condition. Tell you what we'll do, we'll set up an 8-year program, and we'll allocate $1 million each year. That's a total of $8 million. And I will make out a schedule, and the first year we'll take 1/8 of the streets, but the very worst. Then we'll take the next worst, and the next worst, and the next worst. And we've been moving through that. We are now finished with phase 4, and we're ready shortly to begin with phase 5. So the streets are in pretty good condition. They're going to get better. Excuse me. We have also built some new sidewalks out there. We were desperately needed. Drainage has been accomplished. The Lake Blue to Lake Cannon Canal, as a matter of fact, has been piped and covered, and so that's looking real good right now. We still need some more drainage work, but it's just about all accomplished using CDBG funds. And so previously, people were just, when we had hard rains, were simply just wading to their front doors in many cases. That doesn't exist anymore. So a wastewater system, we need to get that in place out there, and that's something we're still working on. The city of Winter Haven has plenty of capacity, as a matter of fact, and they have the wastewater lines down Avenue G and also down Havendale, so it's just a simple matter of cross-connecting. But that's another issue we have to work on. And the last thing is a community center, and they want a community center out there, and we understand that, and it is on our CIP, on the unfunded side now. Not that we right now don't have the ability to construct one. The real issue right now is the issue of O&M, operation and maintenance of it. And people, I'm sure some people understand, maybe others don't, that you know, you don't just go build one. Then you've got to maintain it, and you've got to staff it, and so there are continuing expenses that you have to be aware of. But that's the next issue too. But and also, I have to say that some people are very happy about this and others weren't, but code has been very active out there, and they're telling people that, you know, you've got to clean up your yard, you've got to keep your grass cut, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And the community, I think, in just the last 4 years has come up greatly. But one of the things we were trying to establish out there more than anything else was pride. Just pride in community, and I can see that coming back a little bit now. At first, it was a point that everybody was saying, well, nobody else cares, why should I? But we've made major strides out there, and I'm very happy to say that.
Well, thank you for that comprehensive report. You know, you recently attended the groundbreaking for the Eloise Visual Arts Center. What does this project mean for the citizens in terms of community and economic redevelopment in this low and moderate income neighborhood?
It's the same issue. It's a matter of reestablishing pride in community and giving people something to look forward to, and the idea that an arts center is located there and that people are caring, that we are putting things like that in Eloise, and that people have something to look forward to. I think it's going to be a tremendous boost just for general morale of the community, and I think it was a wonderful idea and a wonderful project. I think it'll be a wonderful thing for them.
Well, very good. Commissioner, we thank you for your comments today and for being on the show. We invite our viewers to tune in next month's edition of the Commissioner's Report, where we can hear firsthand about projects and policies impacting the lives of Polk County citizens. Until then, this is Jim Degennaro urging everyone to please take care and to enjoy this beautiful community we call home.